All right, good morning everybody and welcome to today's video. Today we will be doing another video in the trying series. Today we are going to try to make, it is a picture of lilacs in a mason jar made famous by the fabulous art Sherpa is her name. So we are going to give that a try. Let's go ahead and just watch her little opening video real quick.
Hi, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your art sharp, and today I want to show you how you can create this gorgeous lilacs in a jar painting. Get your paint, get your brushes, get your Q-tips, because you can paint this. Let's go! Let's start this really fun project. I have a 9 by 12 canvas board that I painted black with black gesso, but you can use black paint. Over here I have acrylic paint. I have green, yellow, white, dark purple, a bright pink, and another little bit of white. I have bunches of Q-tips bundled together, some loose ones, and I have number 6 brights for acrylic painting. Let's go ahead and start putting this in.
Okay, so as you can see, she's got her stuff all laid out. I am using the Interleaved Bible with a full page of black gessoed. I did use the Crafter's Workshop black gesso for this project. You, of course, like she said, can just use plain acrylic paint. And it's weird because the black is messing with the light sensitivity on my camera, so that's why you kind of see it going in and out. So that's new. I'm also going to take a sheet of plastic here that I kind of use as a palette, and I've got my colors hanging out. So she says that we need to be having, you know what, maybe I should use something different. You know what, this palette's dry. We're going to use this palette paper instead so you guys can see my colors a little better. There we go. All right, so we're going to put, looks like she had 2 things of white. So we're going to put some white right here, if I could get the little jar to stay open. And weird, I'm not sure what kind of acrylics she used. I am just using just plain old craft acrylics. Okay, I got my 2 dollops of white. We're going to go with this green. She had a green, this is kind of a Kelly green, and then this is a yellow, and then she had like a purple and a magenta. Weirdly enough, I didn't have kind of that same bright magenta color, but I do have, I don't know how to say it, Phthalo red, which is kind of in the hot pink family. So I was like, well, that's pretty close to the color she has. Hers is a little bit darker of a hue, and mine is getting stuck in my bottle. Come on, I just used you a couple days ago. What's your problem? All right, we're going to go bloop. That's probably way more than I need, but that's okay. I'll use that later. And then we're going to be using this Perfect Purple from Folk Art. Okay, so I've got the color she needed. I already went ahead and pre-did some little Q-tip bundles with some washi tape. I've got a few of those. The washi tape is kind of coming undone, but that's okay. So I've got a few because she had, I don't know, like 5 or 6 kind of bundled. So I did watch that part to kind of get ahead of the game. And then I've got some loose Q-tippies. And then I've got just a couple of brushes like she suggested. So let's go and see what our next steps are.
This is kids chalk that I just sharpened with a regular handheld sharpener. But listen, if you don't draw, don't worry about this because I also have a traceable that you can get for free off my website, and tracing is okay. I'm going to be about 3 inches from the bottom of the canvas, and I'm going to make a little bit of a soft smile that's about, oh gosh, 4 inches across. And then I'm going to make a little matching frown. That's an easy way to get kind of an ellipse, and that's the top of my jar here. I'm going to do 2 straight lines down that are just a ½ inch long, and another little soft smile. Your jar should have shoulders, so I'm going to bring a little line out and a little line out, and then just straight down. And that's all it takes to get those in. I find it also helps to kind of sketch in my stems before I paint them so that I know what the curves are. So I'm going to come up here to the upper right corner and sketch a stem down. And that's going to be one of my main showy flowers. So see, I've sketched the little stem down, and then I know where that goes. That's going to make things a lot easier on me. And this guy should have a little friend that comes and ends here. So let's come right here. Just make a nice little bend. These types of flowers tend to have bends in their stems because they're so heavy with blooms. And curve another little bloom right there. And just for balance, I think I'd like another little one right here.
Okay, so she has us sketching in our base with some chalk. I have chalk, I just don't have like anything to really sharpen it with. I'm sure I probably, well, I guess I could use a regular sharpener, but we're just going to go with it. And so we're going to, she said, draw kind of a flat little smile, and then kind of a matching frown on top to make the ellipse of our jar. And jar, and then matching little ellipse, kind of, sort of. And of course this is going to be noticeably smaller because I'm using a much smaller surface, and also hers was going landscape, whereas mine is going portrait, so that'll kind of alter the shape of our project just a little bit, but that's okay. And then we're going to give it some little shoulders. I will leave a link to this video down in the notes and the comments or the description so that you guys can go check it out and then have access to that printable that she says she has if you don't feel comfortable drawing this. Okay, so there's my little my little mason jar, and then we're going to go and sketch in the stems. Now she did 4. I don't know if this page is conducive to 4, but we'll try. So let's do our main one kind of big and bold from up here. And then we'll do one coming from this way. And then we'll kind of have one coming that way. All right, let's just stick with 3. And then if I feel froggy, I can go in and maybe add a 4th. I don't know. This is the trying series. Let's see. So let's leave that there because I'm worried if I get 4, it's going to look like a big blob of stuff instead of like the individual branches. Okay, so let's go in and see what her next steps are.
So let's paint in the first part of the jar we have to paint in for the trick of making these stems look like they're inside glass. This is a really easy trick that anyone can do. Take a little bit of, take your number 6 Ruby Satin Bright, and you get a little paint, no water. I haven't put any water on my brush, on the edge of the bristles here. This is called dry brushing when your brush doesn't have any water on it. And you're going to just carefully over your tracing lines or your white chalk lines, sketch, this is light pressure, the opening of your jar. Then come down and make all these outer lines. Just sketch them. Just sketch them. This is what you're going to be doing. You're just going to be sketching these outer lines for your jar. Once you have those sketched, you can rinse out your brush. Come over here, get a little bit wet, drag off the extra water, get a little green, get a little yellow. See, it's on both sides of the brush. And this is going to be confusing at first, but trust me, I have a plan here. You're going to follow along your stems, leaving about, 3 inches at least at the edge for flowers to fill in. I'm going to grab a little yellow and come and paint in this fellow. There we go. A little yellow. Paint in that fellow. I'm just using the edge of my brush to create this line. Maybe on this one you get a little more green so it's a little darker, and that'll work okay too. Now, let's get a little of our green on our brush. See how it's on the edge there? And let's make a little line that comes off about 1 inch off our stem, and then make a nice diamond shape for the leaf. And just paint that right across, filling that all in with paint. You can get a little yellow if you want to, and come and add a little highlight with the yellow to make it very colorful. Alright, that's a nice little leaf. It should have a little friend down here. I don't even worry about sometimes putting in a stem, because maybe it's a stem that's really delicate and we wouldn't see it. See? Maybe another one right here. These are just the leaves that you would see. Let's come here, make a little stem, and again your little diamond shape. Just little leafies. You can add a little bright yellow highlight to make that more interesting. You even have a little bit of a leaf here happening. So see, that's sort of fun, isn't it? Maybe just a little bit of one right here. So this should have let your jar dry. You want to check to see if your paint's dry. If it's dry, rinse out your brush. And here's how you make it look like the stems are inside the jar. I'm going to dry off my brush with a rag. I'm going to come and get some white paint again on my dry brush. I'm going to come right here, and on the smile line I'm going to go right over these green stems. And there they are in the jar. Now I'm going to grab a little more white, and I'm going to bring a couple reflections down. 1, 2, right here. You can come right across here with a reflection. Maybe there's a reflection right here. Right. I like to say that there's another little shoulder reflection that happens. So I go stroke down, another little stroke down, and then a soft dry brush stroke across. And then another little couple of dry brush strokes to show that this glass is here. So this is about doing dry brushing over this, and that's what helps you really define that really easy glass. You're not actually ever painting glass, you're painting the reflections that end up on glass. Okay, so that's perfect. You have stems in a jar. That was so fun, wasn't that?
All right, so it looks like we are using a dry brush technique to kind of give the essence of our jar. So I've got just my brush, didn't dip it in anything, just like she said. And we are going to just go over our jar here, just kind of outlining it with the edge. Not trying to be perfect. There we go. Outline there. Well, that was easy. And we have a jar. Okay, awesome. So there's our little jar. And then she said we're going to clean our brush off and then go in for our next part. I'm going to grab just a little cloth here that I keep in my studio to dry my brush off, because we don't want a wet brush, it seems, for this next part. And there we go. So we're going to start, she said, with mostly yellow with a little green, and not over mixing it, so we kind of get that natural kind of blend. I'm going to start with this guy. Just use the edge light pressure and kind of let it fade off. Yay, you got that. And we're going to do the same thing with our other one. Start at the bottom with a little bit more pressure and let it kind of fade as we get to the top. Now she said to leave kind of the tip a little lighter or end it before your chalk line so that there's room for your flower to fill in. Mine's a little wigglier than hers is, but that's okay. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. Bring him up. Alright, we got some stemmies. And now we're going to go in and put in our flower. So obviously, again, my space is more limited than hers is, so we will do our best here. I kind of wish, no, I think I'm fine. I was going to get a smaller brush, but why dirty more than one? So we're going to make just kind of a teardrop, smushed football kind of thing going on here. Oh, I forgot to do, she said do a little stemmy. Now I have a baby leaf going right here. I do kind of like this. I've never really painted on a black background, but I like the idea of it because it kind of gives automatic shading and depth to kind of what you're working on. So that's kind of cool. All right, let's go up here and add a big leaf kind of where she did up here. You can see I picked up a little bit more yellow in that one, and that's okay. See if I can kind of smooth these edges out a little bit. And then while this is still a little wet, I'm going to go in like she suggested and add just a little bit of yellow to them so they have a little bit of a highlight kind of thing. Clean my brush off a little bit and go back in with a little bit of green to kind of smooth it out a little bit. I think that's working, yes. Cool beans. They're going to go in, need a little bit more yellow and add to this one. And then go back in with my dark green just to make sure I have a little bit darker shading on that side. And let's see, she did a couple little leafies down here. Oh, I keep forgetting to do stems. So there's my stemmy. And we're gonna do a little stem with a little leaf dangling off of it over here. I probably should have used a smaller brush, but that's okay. A little bit of yellow to make it pop a little bit of green to give it that dark edge, and one little baby leaf, because why not? Okay, so that is our leaves, and then we are going to give that, so she said test to make sure our thing is dry. So our jar is now dry, so I'm going to clean my brush off really good so I don't end up with any yellows and stuff in it. And I'm going to do a little, going to dry brush our white. So just on the edge, and we're going to dry brush this over, she said over kind of the smile lines to kind of recess those stems back in there. There we go, that worked. Well, looky there. And then we're going to go in and put those little reflection lines. So kind of where the sun would hit the edges of our jar. And give a little swipey. Might have over swiped, but that's okay. That's still good. And then she put in kind of a little Try not to put my fingers in my paint. A little shoulder glimmer here. So it looks like it has that little bit of edging that a jar would have right there. And go back in with our dry brush swipies. Get a little brighter whites there on the sides and a little bit down here. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Our stems look like they're inside our jar. We've got some nice reflection going on. Okay, go us. All right, let's see. How the heck do we make these flowers with Q-tips? Let's find it out.
So another little trick that I do is I like to kind of sketch in a light shape before I Q-tip in my flowers. So one of the goals is I will come here and I just want to make sure that I very softly create the little cone shape I'm going to be following for my flowers. I want them to be wider at the bottom. That one's like 3 fingers wide. And then come taper different places up here to the top, right? There we go. Just so I know what my flowers are doing. Right? And that's how I get that in. Now grab your first bunch of Q-tips, take a deep breath. This is the fun part. So I have a bunch here. I've made sure that they're very level. I don't get a lot of hairs on my Q-tips because I use Q-tips. And I think that's why my little dots are always coming out really well. So I'm going to dab a little bit into my purple, and then I'm going to dab a little bit into my bright magenta pink there, and get a little bit of white right there. I'm going to come put in the shadow. So I've got the light coming from up here, and all I've got to do is this little shadow at the bottom. If you need more purple, get more purple. I get just a smidge. The trick here is to just get a smidge of light, not a lot, because it'll over lighten and you want your lilacs to have the shadow. When I'm coming to the edge, I actually rock my Q-tips back a little bit to get less dots. But you can also switch to using, and I'll show you, some individual Q-tip. Right? To get that delicate finish anywhere you need it. Or if you need detailing into the flower to make it feel more special. When I have hairs like that, I can also just roll them like this. I'm going to get a little more of my purple, a little more of my pink, a smidge of my white, and come and make the shadow again around the base. More pink this time, I think. A little white. So I just try to think about mixing these colors up because these flowers have so many lovely colors in them. And I have lots of bunches here, so if this bunch weren't making me happy, I can always get another bunch of Q-tips. There we go. You can see I'm rocking it back to just a couple of my Q-tips. I come out to this edge here. I also like to bring out little interesting shapes.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to start by kind of shaping what our flowers are going to be. And so we want to just lightly sketch in what our shape is going to be. So it's going to be a little bigger at the bottom and kind of taper down at the top. And they're kind of overlapping. I'm assuming that's going to work. And this little guy is going to come up here and kind of go up there. This one's going to come this way and kind of overlap on our leaf a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got them outlined, and then she has the idea that our sun is coming from up here, so we want to keep our darker colors on what would be the underside, and that's where our Q-tips come in. Okay, friends, it's what you've been waiting for. Okay, I'm going to tighten it just a smidge, and we are going to do some dab in our purple, dab in our pink. So you can kind of see I've got the pink and the purple, and then just a smidge of white. So I got that kind of working. They're kind of not staying bunchy together. I maybe should have do them a little bit tighter. Let me see. Okay, and then we're just gonna do kind of a dabby thing here. I think the brighter purples or the more kind of rich purple she used is working a little better than my kind of more, I don't really know what you'd call it, different kind of purple that I'm using. But that is kind of working. And she said, go back in as you need to get your colors. And don't forget to add just little dollops of white so that you get kind of that natural highlight. I think I over dabbed, so we're going to go in with a single Q-tip with the purple and just make sure we've got enough of that purple so that purple looks kind of intentional and kind of okay, that's pretty good. There's a little bit of a shadow for you guys, or a glare because of the, you can see that looks kind of lilac-y or hydrangea-y. I think that's the other kind of flower that would kind of look like this. Okay, so let's do it again. In our purple and a dollop in our, I have words. Dollop in our pink. And we're going to go in here with this one. And kind of, okay, that one turned out better. I think because I had them maybe flatter this time. And then, so if we need a little bit more. I think that time too I was putting too much on the Q-tips, so it was feeling kind of blobby. And then she said when you get to the end, that's when you kind of go more to a single, so it kind of will trail off to the end of our, oop, I slid it, I didn't dab it. Darn it. Dots, dots, dots. Kind of just give it that looser look here at the top, like they're kind of dangling, and add a little bit white so it feels there we go. And add just a little bit more white so there's a little bit more highlights so it's not so muddy and dark. Well, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to switch Q-tippy things because she said to, if your Q-tips ended up starting to get fuzzy, like those little lines on it, to switch. And those were starting to get, you can see the little fuzzies coming off of them. And I'm using Q-tips, not some knockoffs, so I got fuzzy sooner than she did. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to get my darker. This is seriously therapeutic, friends. Like just the, It kind of makes you feel like I don't know, kindergarten-y, is that a word? Because it's like you're not trying really hard to make a flower, you're just kind of having fun with dots. Ooh, and it's pulling up my paper here. She did it on a canvas, so that was probably a little bit easier to maneuver. Bring it down just a little bit here, add some little white dollopies. So there we go. Yeah, just a few little things down here, so it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, that looks pretty good, guys. Okay, let's go back in and see how she does the shadow portion.
Interesting. Let's get the tops. So I'm going to grab another little bunch right here. And now I'm going to get mostly into my white, but I'll let it pick up some of the color that I have. Maybe a dab of pink this time. See? I'm going to come create this highlight. Lots of white on this side. I really like to let these particular dots be a little more open because it makes it feel like there's just a little bit of light catching it. Oh, such a pretty piece. Just on using just almost these two when I come to the end, but you can switch to your individual Q-tip, right? Where you make little dots. See? So feel like you've got that. I'm going to get a little pink on one of them. There we go. Just enjoying the color. Sometimes what's underneath comes and mixes up. I also sometimes turn my bundle to change up my shapes. We're almost done with this gorgeous painting. Look gorgeous in a frame. Hope you'll share it with me online. All right, there we go. Oh, I've got some pretty pink there, so I'm going to just dab that out.
Okay, so now it's time to do our highlights, and it looks like we're just basically doing the exact same thing again. We're just taking mostly white. So I've got my white all dabbled up, and then she said just a little bit of pink just to kind of naturally add that shadow in. And I'm going to start over. Oh, I don't know where to start. Give some dabbies to kind of some more white. I think I over pinked it, but that's okay. Give it a little bit more space. Okay. This is super fun, by the way, guys. If you guys have any other cool art projects that I can try using Q-tips, I think this is super fun. Leave them down in the comments, and we can give those a try on a future installment of my trying series. So we're just gonna kind of dab those in. Mostly white with just some little dabbles of pink. I'll put the colors I used down in the comments, and I think she probably on her video, which like I said I'll link below, probably has the exact color she used. And kind of have those fluttering out just a little bit to give it a little bit more. Well, that's looking pretty darn cool, friends. Alright, so she said mostly white, little dab of pink, and we'll get this little side over here. And what's great about this too is it's not like apply this exact pink in this exact corner in order to blah blah blah. I mean, it's really just kind of, you just kind of dabby dab until you're happy. Get a few little kind of guys coming this way. Well, I think that's pretty good. Let's see what she says about kind of finishing touches, because I'm wondering if I should go back in and maybe add some more colors. Like this, I feel needs a little bit more pink and highlights. So let's hop back in and see what the Art Sherpa has to tell us to finish this project up.
Sometimes you'll notice that you have some really pretty color and you want to go with it. Definitely trust your gut. Something makes your heart happy. Always listen to that. More white. There we go. The little light sketching I did really helps me keep track of the shapes that I want in my painting. Get some red here because I feel like it could use some bright pink right there. You can always just add color where you think the piece would be improved by it. That's where I think it would be improved. Getting some hairs. So what I can do is if it's getting too much, I can always switch to another bundle. And that's why I like to have lots of little bundles here. If a bundle starts to do anything I'm not loving, just switch bundles. Just add the highlight right here. Like to bring some in different places. Make little highlights. Let's get some pink to finish that out. There we go. Just enjoy. And if you feel like you lost your shadow at any point, remember you can just actually come right back with your purple and put it back anywhere you think you want it. And guess what, guys? I think I just grabbed some magenta there. I'm just having fun. You have fun too. And switch sides of the Q-tips. There you go. Oh, it's just pretty. That was so much fun. I'm so happy to have shared that with you today. I hope you're happy with your result. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Alrighty, so we're going to go back in and just add a few little finishing touches. I feel very much like I have like this really distinct line between my lights and my darks. So she said if you felt like more paint would make it better and make you happy, so I'm going to go in and kind of just dollop in some little pink areas to kind of mimic or mask, I guess is a better word, the kind of line I have straight down the middle, and kind of give it just a little bit more of an organic shape, and then go back in with my white to make sure I'm not making it too blah. Is that a word? I mean, that's a word. Is that the correct term? I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. There we go. I kind of like that a little better. It needed a little bit more, I don't know. It felt like too harsh of a line between my purple and my white, and it didn't feel like a natural kind of fade that you would see from the sun. All right, and my little bundle here is getting a little gross, so I'm going to switch bundles and just go in and dab a little, really almost like a dry brush white on my shadow here, just to kind of make it pop a little bit more. And then do the same thing with my purple to kind of get more dotty and less splotchy. That is the great thing about doing this. I mean, if we all do the same technique, it's still going to turn out slightly different. And so I think that's super cool. Add some little dollopy ones there, little dollops there. Okay, I think our picture's done. I think that turned out pretty good. Oh, we need a title. So when I was thinking about these lilacs and kind of what they symbolized and everything, I was looking up what the what lilacs represented, and they represented spirituality. And so I couldn't really find, because there wasn't really a verse that specifically says lilacs, or at least in the 3 or 4 interpretations that I looked at. So I did get to thinking about just the idea of them symbolizing spirituality. And so we are in Romans chapter 8, using verse 5. Technically it's verse 5 through 9, but verse 5 is our main idea. And it says, "For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on things of the Spirit." And so I'm just going to kind of underline that over here and just kind of let that little painting we just did just kind of remind me of where my focus should be. And so I think I might actually use that as kind of my finishing touch and just really lightly try not to get my fingers in wet paint. I'm almost going to make it look like it's written on the jar. So this is just a white gel pen. I'm just going to write the word focus. Just as kind of a reminder to that where our focus lies, there kind of everything goes with it. So if we focus on things that are of the flesh, then our mind's going to always wander towards the flesh. But if we choose to focus on the spiritual, then that's where our lives will go, kind of like the sail of our sailboat of our life. So then we're going to just write Romans 8. What did I say? 5. My brain stopped for a second. Romans 8:5. And just so I don't forget, we're just going to write, what is today? Today is the 16th. So we're just going to write the quick little date, 3/16/21. All right, guys, I think we are done, and I think it looks fabulous, and it was fun. And I know I usually do a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the easiest, 5 being the hardest. Y'all, this is like a -1. It's not hard at all. It's with stuff you already have. You get a beautiful result. You could even do the same technique, but do it in more of like kind of a ball, and then you get more of that hydrangea look and less of kind of the lilac look. But I highly suggest you guys try it. And if you guys do, feel free to tag me at the Creative Life Studios and at Art Sherpa in your social media posts so that we can see the cool things that you have done with her technique. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and it challenges you to just go out and try new and cool things. So thank you guys once again, and make sure you go check out the Art Sherpa's full video. I will put that down in the description. And you guys have an amazing and awesome day, and I will see you guys next time.